Hey there. Welcome to, I think, our first YouTube live. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a common mistake that I see LGBTQ Christians make. This also applies to LGBT people of all faith backgrounds, really. So if you're joining live, say hello in the chat. It's great to see you. I see some folks here. So, a mistake that LGBTQ Christians make and how to avoid that and what to do differently. And so over the past 10 plus years at queertheology.com, I've had the pleasure of working with all different kinds of people. And here's what I see in common amongst folks it's that we all want a spiritual life that supports our queerness and is free of fear. And so, if you're trying to integrate your queerness and Christianity, there are two common missteps that Father Shay and I see all the time. And sadly, these are mistakes and missteps that keep LGBTQ people stuck. So if you're joining live, hello, say hello in the chat. It's great to be here. We're hanging out today talking about mistakes that LGBTQ Christians make that keep us stuck and what we can do to get unstuck from that. This applies mostly to LGBTQ Christians, but also to LGBTQ Jews or just people who want to be spiritual in general. And so the common thread that I see amongst people who want a spiritual life that supports their queerness, and the thing that gets in the way of that is if you want to stop settling for a faith that leaves you feeling split in two and actually start showing up in all areas of your life and just like pause, is that you? Like, do you ever feel like you're split in two, like your queerness is over here and your spirituality, your Christianity, your Jewishness is over here on the other side? If so, like, drop a that's me in the comments. But so if you want to stop settling for a faith that leaves you split in two and you want to actually start showing up in all areas of your life as your full fabulous self, one thing that you need to stop doing is you need to stop getting stuck on learning and consuming more and more information without actually taking action toward what you want in your life and your faith. And so I don't know if any of y'all who are here hanging out watching this, are any of you like big readers? Do you listen to podcasts, documentaries? I am a voracious reader. I love to read. I love listening to podcasts. I love learning. And so this is a mistake that I have fallen into where I just think that like more and more information is the solution. That if I just had more information, I would feel better. I would have more friends. I would feel less ashamed of my sex life. I'd be less afraid. I'd have a deeper spiritual life. I'd fill in like any number of concerns that I was hoping learning more would help resolve. What are y'all thinking? Is this resonating with you? I'd love to, I would love to hear from you too. So this can be a little bit of a back and forth. And so like, I get that because like the intersections of queerness and your faith is like a big deal. So it makes sense that you want to get it right. And it makes sense that you have in your mind that like the work required is going to be big and heavy, just like sometimes these issues can feel. And so, like, no wonder we stay stuck in learning mode and we haven't made as much progress towards integrating our queerness and our faith as we want, because if it feels really big and heavy and like a lot of work, like, of course, I'm going to not do that. But so I want to offer you this. I think that the solution for integrating our queerness and our faith is probably a lot simpler than you think. And so this is like why I think that. Faith and sexuality and gender feel like big issues. But like when you think about your like actual day-to-day life, how do you actually spend your time? Like for me, I wake up, I get out of bed, I take a shower, I go for a walk. If you have kids, maybe you pack lunch for your kids. Maybe you read a book or listen to a podcast or you watch a TV show. Maybe you go to church or you put off going back to church, which is totally a-okay. Also, I know I go to synagogue once a week. I make tacos with my boyfriend every Tuesday. Like my actual day-to-day existence is made up of like quite small, simple things, despite being, a big queer person. And so I want to offer that these two things are true. You right there, you at home, you are more ready to begin living into a beautifully queer faith. And also, that's not going to happen without some intentional action. And so I just want to offer to you today, what if you stopped reading every single book that was ever written on LGBTQ issues in Christianity? Like the mediocre mixed in with the inspiring, the hateful messages mixed in with the affirming ones. What if you tried to stop convincing yourself to do spiritual things? Like, who here has like felt like I should pray, or I should read my Bible, or I should go to church, or I should go to Bible study, or I should talk to a friend about my faith? Is that like, does that resonate? Does that ring any bells with any of y'all? What if you stop trying to convince yourself to do those things? And what if you could build the spiritual life of your dreams and then some by focusing on small, simple actions that fit into your life rather than trying to overhaul your entire faith structure all at once? So instead of always being learning more learning, what if instead you shifted to rituals, habits, and spiritual practices that chip away at your fear and build a faith full of freedom? And now, spiritual practices, I don't know, like that can be a big fancy word. It doesn't have to be like praying the rosary, or going to church, or like a daily quiet time, or things that might trigger you. Spiritual practices can look all sorts of different ways. So I'm wondering, when I say the word spiritual practices, like what comes up for you? Like, what are you thinking of as a spiritual practice? So here's something. Over the past 10 years, Father Shay and I, as we've been working at queertheology.com, we've seen that the folks that we work with, who shift from learning to doing, see the most progress, not only in their like spiritual lives and healing harm done to them by Christianity, by Judaism, by their families of origin, by churches, and building robust, meaningful spiritual lives that feel like deeply aligned with who they are, aligned with the divine, and aligned with queerness. But they also see flourishing in their friendships and families, their love lives, and their gender journeys. You've probably heard the saying, like, nothing changes if nothing changes. And that's absolutely true in our faith lives as well. And so, like, exactly what those daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly practices are, they're like, that's going to vary from person to person. My spiritual practices are going to look totally different from your spiritual practices, and they're going to look totally different from someone else's spiritual practices. But they also, like, maybe totally different is too strong of a word. That I think that, though, there will be some through lines here of practices that connect us to ourselves, practices that connect us to each other, and practices that connect us to something bigger than ourselves, whether you call that God, or a higher power, or source, or love, whatever that might be. When you start with, but the key is you have to figure out something to get you going. You need to get started, and then you need to keep going. When you start with small and simple change, you show yourself that you are capable of changing your circumstances, and you build up a history of spiritual and emotional victories. And once you see that you can do it, the next shift becomes easier. So you got to start small and then build. Um, it is like really easy to mistake learning or reading, or even worth like thinking about it, thinking about my queerness, thinking about my faith life, thinking about how I'm going to integrate these two, thinking about like what freedom might look like. It's easy to mistake all of that for actual action and process. And so, like, I'm just like wondering for you, like, what would happen if you focused on life-giving spiritual practices instead on endlessly researching or stressing or hoping. Um, So that's really like my message for you today. And I want you to know that this is all possible, that the clients that we work with inside of queertheology.com are already breaking down limiting beliefs, they're letting go of fear and reimagining what faith could look like, and building robust, fulfilling spiritual lives, all by focusing on these small, simple, regular spiritual practices. Um, so that's the jam. And to get you started with looking for things and like looking for queerness every day and for reimagining like what a spiritual practice could look like, it's not boring, it's not dull, it's not something that you do out of obligation. They're actually like really fun and fulfilling. Like coming soon, we're going to be doing a queerness everyday challenge. It's totally free to help you sort of like find queerness everywhere you go, and not just like find queerness everywhere you go, but also to find connections between your queerness and your faith and your spirituality. And it's like it's so much bigger than just like, I don't know, saying God is trans, or it's so much bigger than just saying like David and Jonathan were gay. We're going to be like keeping our eyes open and our spirits attuned to the ways in which queerness and spirituality show up everywhere and interconnect in our lives. It's going to be really fun, totally free. There's going to be like a private group for us to all to hang out together as we go looking for queerness every day. There'll be some challenges, there'll be some trainings and some assignments every day to sort of like walk you through finding queerness every day. So if you're interested in that, head on over to queertheology.com/challenge. And tune in again for updates from me and Shay here on Facebook. I mean, here on YouTube, or over on Facebook or over on Instagram. We're going to be talking more about moving from learning to doing, and from like hoping to actually shifting in our queerness and in our faith lives. So that is all today. If you were hanging out with me live, say hello, say goodbye. It was great seeing y'all. I know that there's a few people here, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.